Imagine a world where you are part of a community that sees you for all that you bring and propels you to become your very best self. A world where everyone is valued for what they bring and everyone gets the support they need. Savor Exchange brings this dream to reality by empowering individuals, communities, and organizations with the right tools and resources to change the world. We do this by organizing people near and far around a goal or project and bringing them together and measuring their success. Our data analytical reports will provide information to support transparency and critical needs in today's world. The SaverX app acts as a secure bridge to multiple communities, including those defined by you, and allows everyone within their community to contribute time through service and request help for themselves. Members can also donate service credits, money, or goods back to their community. Go to www.saverxapp.com to learn more and start your Saver community today.
This event is brought to you by Savor Exchange, which you can see right in the middle. It's the middle of my screen. And Savor's great. It's give what you love and get what you need to get things done. Okay. You can see me though, right? Yeah. Seva is reinventing volunteerism by providing an easy-to-use web and mobile platform to discover one's passions through community service and to seek help when needed. So Seva's doing wonderful things, including putting on this summit. And Anita is right here, and she is the CEO.
I just wanted to raise the vibration of the world, and we all need it. We really all need it.
Heaven knows we need it. And so there are many people who told me just the name Happiness Summit made them happy.
Yeah, I saw those comments.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's get started. I'm Phyllis Levinson. I just want to welcome you. I'm so happy to see you. And I just want to tell you a little bit about me before I jump in to do what my real job is today, which is to teach you how you can not only be happy and maintain your happiness, but how you can actually grow your happiness. So for the past 20 years, I have been an executive coach to senior level women to help them lead more effectively and confidently. And but doing so while also enjoying their whole life. And my clients include executive directors, C-suite executives, law firm partners, and many others. But before becoming a coach, I was a character education consultant. I worked with schools and parents on how to raise and teach good moral values and ethics to children, including confidence, empathy, responsibility, and my favorite, which is moral courage, which is the courage to say and do what's right, even when nobody else is. Before consulting, I used my master's degree in city and regional planning. First, I was with a think tank, and I did research, writing, and publishing on economic development. And after that, I worked in commercial real estate development. I'm also an Amazon best-selling author. You can find me on Amazon. My book debuted at number 9 next to Oprah's at number 8. I am so uncool that I have a screenshot of that framed in my office, and I assume Oprah does too. So all those careers made me really happy at the time. And when it was time to move on, I moved on. And so coaching is my longest career, almost 2 decades now. I have other things in my life that make me very happy. I've been married to a wonderful man since dinosaurs roamed the earth. We have 2 grown children and the cutest little 18-month-old granddaughter. That is who I am. And as we go along towards the end, I want to find out more about you. So the structure is, I'm going to go through my presentation, which I'll start in just a moment. I will leave time at the end for questions. if you put any questions into the chat during my presentation, I won't see them because I can't present and read at the same time. But when I'm done, I'm going to ask you to raise your hands, and I will answer as many questions as I can. So I am going to share my screen now. Okay, can you all see that? And you can hear me. All right. A huge victory. I feel happy. Okay. All right. So let's start with a common understanding of what we mean by happy, because it means different things to different people. And I think of happy as a way of life. It's the general energy you exude throughout the day. And I contrast that with the word joy. And joy is wonderful, but joy is often tied with an event, with, for example, crossing the finish line of a race. Joy is what you feel at a wedding or a party. Joy is tied to a moment. I think of happy as a way of life. It's how you go about your day. It's the general energy you exude. And you know when you're with a happy person, and it's for no reason, but you walk away from them and you feel up, having been in their presence. And we know the opposite. When you've been with an unhappy person, you walk away feeling a little bit depleted, perhaps. So I'm just making this distinction because I really want to drive home the point that what I'm talking about today is happy. It's how you wake up in the morning. It's how you go through your day. Now, this doesn't mean that happy means everything goes perfectly in our lives, because that's unrealistic. You can wake up in the morning and your kid spills juice everywhere and your dog pees on your gorgeous living room rug, and the phone's ringing and your partner is asking if you've seen his or her keys, and it's chaotic and crazy, but you're still happy. This doesn't make you unhappy. So that's the distinction that I want to make. So when we talk about happy, what is happy? My definition is that happiness is a life of abundance. It's a life of abundance. So the question becomes, an abundance of what? Is it an abundance of money? Yes. Is it an abundance of love? Yes. An abundance of family? Sure. Okay. Learning. Is it an abundance of learning? All of these are part of an abundant life. These and more. But these are the ones we think about. Having good health, having a purpose in life, having good friends, and having a creative outlet. This is what makes life happy. It's the feeling of the expression, my cup runneth over. That's how it feels. It feels like you are filled up. That's the kind of abundance. So the question now is, how much is abundance? How abundant do each of these things have to be for you to be happy? And the answer is, the amount of each is subjective. There is no objective measure. So what may be enough money for me to feel abundant may not be enough for you. For some people, having a few close friends feels abundant. Other people need to have a big group of friends. Even with good health, some people need to run 10 miles a day to feel healthy. And someone else may need to do yoga 3 times a week and they feel abundantly healthy. And learning also, we all learn differently. So somebody might learn because they just read all the time. And for someone else to feel abundant in learning, it means they travel. They need to immerse themselves in other cultures and ways of life and art and literature. So there's no one definition of what's abundant. It really varies from person to person. It's totally subjective. So what have we said so far? We said that we know that being happy is subjective, that it varies from person to person. We know that being happy is feeling abundant. And we know that abundant varies from person to person, and what works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. Therefore, and this is really a key question here, that we don't ask ourselves, am I doing things right? What we want to ask ourselves is, am I doing the right things? All right. And that slight difference is really important, because switching from things right to the right things puts you in control of your life. Now, there's no such thing as having total control, because there are so many external variables, but it allows you to control your life as much as possible. And I have, over the years, many clients who have said to me, I just can't get everything done, or I don't know how I'm going to get everything done. And the first response I have is, what are those things and who assigned them to you? Because we so often go through life making assumptions of what we should be doing. And we should all over ourselves, because we somehow had that put into our head. And now, listen, there are always going to be some things that need to be done. I'm not being Pollyannish about this, but you need to think about, am I doing the right things? Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, I see heads nodding. So how do you know what the right things are for you? And there is an answer. It's based on living your values. Everything is based on living your values. And to start finding out, what are those values? Ask yourself, what is most important to you, and who is most important to you? Those two questions are really vital. After you answer those questions, and you don't need to answer them in this moment, but after you answer them, then you go on to ask yourself, do your days reflect your values? Do your weeks reflect your values? Do your months reflect your values? Because often we'll say that something or someone is really important to us, and then you go and look through your calendar, however you keep a calendar, and you see they're just not there. Or you say that reading is really important to you and you don't make time. We see this often with people who work around the clock, and they might say that a person is very important to them, but there's no time for them. So happiness is based on living your values. And the best way to find that out is to compare your calendar to what and who you say makes you happy. So we've come a long way. We've said it's subjective. We said it's about abundance, and we said it's about living your values. Are you all with me? Yeah? Okay. So now we want to put this together, and we're getting to the roots part of the name of this presentation, the roots of happiness. And I want you to think about a strong tree. So a strong, tall tree has been around for a while, and they've grown, and it's grown up and big and full. And a big, strong tree like this has very deep roots. And these deep roots are what allow the tree to grow. It's how the tree gets water. It's how the tree gets nourishment. It's how the tree grows its strong trunk and how it grows its branches and its leaves. Now, because of these strong roots, the tree can withstand storms. It can withstand even hurricanes. Now, the tree may sway a little bit, it may bend a little bit, but it doesn't break. It doesn't topple over. It's still standing. Well, just like this tree, we need to be deeply rooted. So when the storms of life come, we may sway, we may bend, but we don't break. We continue to be happy. So using this tree, we're going to say that our tree, meaning ourselves, have to have 5 deep roots. And these roots are the values that we all have to fulfill. This is true no matter where you live, no matter what language you speak, what religion you have or don't have. This is just true of all human beings. This is truly universal. So our roots are our values, and we can only be happy when we are living our true values. That's when we feel abundant, and that's when we're happy and nourished. So what are these roots? The first root is relationships. We humans are social beings, and we can't be happy without healthy relationships with others. The emphasis there on healthy. The next root is what I call intellectual. We always need to be learning and growing, just like trees are always growing. A tree after 15 years doesn't say, I'm done, this is good enough. And can you imagine if when you were 25, you stopped learning? Like, okay, I know enough. It's unimaginable. So this is just a vital part of human happiness, is to always be learning. The next root is creativity. And I'm positive some of you are saying, but I'm not creative. And I don't even know who's saying that, but I disagree. You are creative. We are all born creative. And creativity is so important for so many reasons. First of all, it's an emotional outlet. Whether you're writing poetry or painting or dancing, it's an emotional outlet. It also allows us to use our whole brain. I mean, the truth is we use a very small part of our brain every day. And being able to tap into this whole other part of the brain allows us to be more creative thinkers and problem solvers by thinking outside the box. Now, every culture everywhere has art and music and dance and literature. That's what makes this so universal. The next root is what I call spiritual. And by spiritual, I don't mean religious, although if you're a person of faith, then this would be part of your religion. By spiritual, I mean caring about and being involved with things outside of yourself. Or as I used to say when I was raising my kids, things outside our front door. People, events, other living beings. And for our purposes, it really is not religion, okay? It's just caring about the world outside. And it could be your community, or it could be more global. Our last root is the physical. It's our health from head to toe. And obviously, we all want to be as healthy as we possibly can be. And this root is really important. They all are. But this root is really important because the better our health, the more we can fulfill the other roots. But all 5 roots are part of every human happy life. These roots, I have to reiterate, these roots do not change from person to person. So now the question is, how do we live our values and have our 5 roots deep enough? And for that, we go to the opposite end of the tree. We go up the tree to the leaves, and the leaves are our roles in life. And we get to choose most of our roles. So if the roles we are ones that we choose and they fulfill those 5 roots, they strengthen those 5 roots, then we're going to be happier. But it always starts with the roots, because just like trees grow from the roots up, so do we in terms of our happiness. When your roles aren't deeply rooted, then you're not going to be as happy. So what are examples of roles? So for relationships, you know, you could be a friend, a daughter, a mother, a wife, a husband, a partner. For the intellectual root, this one is so broad for many of us on this call right now, on this Zoom. Our careers provide a lot of intellectual stimulation. But even beyond that, the roles could be, you could be a student, as I said before, a traveler, a book club member. For me, I am an avid TED Talk watcher. I can go down a TED Talk rabbit hole like no one else. And one leads to another, and it's been an hour. So there are lots of ways to fulfill the intellectual. The creative, if you're a quilter, a knitter, a sewer, a pianist, a sculptor, if you love going to museums and just soaking in all that beauty and art, it doesn't matter. It's just having that creative outlet, tapping into that other side of our brains. The spiritual one is also fulfilled by so many ways. You can be, I'm an animal rights activist. You can work raising funds for your local library. You can tutor, volunteer at the food bank. It's endless. It's endless. And for the physical, again, you know, it's everything from dancing and being a yogi to playing soccer, which which makes me laugh because I know there are people here not from the United States, and you call it football, but in the United States we call it soccer. So those are the roles. Now, here's the really good news. You don't need 1,000 roles to have strong roots, because each role fulfills, often it fulfills more than one root. So for example, I mentioned a book club. So if you're in a book club with friends, well, the book club part strengthens your intellectual root, and the friends part strengthens your relationships root. If you love hiking and take photographs while you're hiking, then the hiking is the physical and the photographs is the creative route. If you volunteer at a homeless shelter with your children or your sister or your neighbor, again, that's fulfilling 2 roots. That's fulfilling the spiritual and it's fulfilling the relationships. So it's not complicated once you start understanding this. You don't need a million roles. Now, roles change throughout life. So you know, 30 some odd years ago, I wasn't yet a mom. And so I didn't have a leaf on my tree that was mom. Well, I do now. I have a new leaf on my tree called grandmom. Both of my parents have passed, and so that role of daughter is really no longer on the tree as an active role. So you can get married, you can get divorced. Roles come and go, all right? Some roles stay forever. I will be a mom forever. But as I told you at the beginning, when I told you who I was once a researcher, and now that role is no longer on my tree, right? Now I'm a coach. So roles come and go. The goal is to have roles that you choose. Okay? That's the key. You keep hearing me use that word choose and choice and control. So you can look at the roles on your tree or the leaves on your tree, and there may be some that you didn't choose. And it's like, why am I doing this? I don't like it. It's not making me happy. And when we have a role or 2 or 3 that we didn't choose and they aren't making us happy, they're really not fulfilling the roots. If anything, they're helping to shrink the roots. Now, there are some roles that we wouldn't consciously and willingly choose, but they happen because life happens to us. And what my family has experienced, and I have many friends experience, is taking care of elderly parents right now, and parents at the end of their lives. And that's just a role that isn't a role that, like, yay, we get to do, but it is a role in life. And if you're doing it out of love and caring, then it really does strengthen the relationship root. So it's not completely binary that if it's a role you didn't choose and it's not good. That's not the point. I hope you understand the point that any role, any leaf that strengthens your roots is a role that is good for you. It's right for you. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah, okay. I like head nods when everybody is muted. All right, so how do you use your tree? Well, when we're completely done here, what I want you to do is just grab a piece of paper and a pen or pencil, and I want you to draw a tree. It can be a stick tree. This is not an art project, but you can make it into a nice tree if you want, because that would be the creative root, okay? And just label the roots, all right? And I have a really easy way to remember what they are, because the first letters of each word spells script, S-C-R-I-P, and I think of it as a prescription for a happy life. If that doesn't work for you and you're a potato chip lover, it also spells crisp. And so label those and then start labeling your leaves. If you want to have fun, you can draw leaves and label those with all of your roles. And really start noting which roles really suit you best. And also, while you're doing this exercise, don't beat yourself up. Don't be hard on yourself. All right? All you're doing here is having a visual representation of how happy you are and where there's room to become happier. So don't say, oh, I never wanted to take on that role or that project or that volunteer activity. It could also be at work. Why did I agree to do that? I hate doing that. Don't just put them all down, just so you can see. And so you know what work you have ahead of you. So you now know which roots you need. You know which leaves to keep. You know which leaves to let go of if and when possible. And you know which leaves need to be added to strengthen those roots. Now, it's not enough to have 2 or 3 of the roots really deep and the other 2 really pretty shallow, because when that storm comes, when that hurricane comes, your tree, you, will not be able to stand strong. Now, not all of the roots have to be equally deep, but they all have to be deep enough. And only you can determine if they're deep enough by how happy you are. Does that make sense? Remember, this is your life, your definitions, how abundant you want to feel. You get to decide. Sound good? I am happy now to take questions. Let me expand you. Now I'm having the problem in reverse. Okay. All right. Any questions? Yes, if you have a question, you can just raise your hand and unmute yourself. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. I just want to be sure. No questions? You're all happy? All right. I know you're not Edgar, but I'm going to call on you. You have to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, I changed my name on an earlier screen and I thought it would hold over and I didn't see that I was relabeled as Edgar again.
You didn't look like Edgar, and I don't even know Edgar.
So my name is Christine. So Edgar and I were just on an earlier thing about purpose, and you actually brought up purpose in your presentation, and it was a lovely presentation. Thank you very much. I've
Thank you.
written that, and no, it was really, really very, very cool. Thank you. And I wondered how you would fold purpose more strongly and more directly into the presentation that you had made.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I love that question. So when I talk about purpose, that really gets, it taps into several of the roots, including the spiritual one. Because if we don't feel a purpose in life and we're just going through the motions, then we're not quite sure why we're here. And there are many studies that show that when people are depressed, one of the tools that helps them is to help others. And typically a purpose is different from a goal. You know, a goal may be to be successful. A goal may be to finish a painting. But a purpose is much more of why am I here? What are my gifts? What can I share? And it doesn't have to be high and mighty, but it has to feed us. I was going to say it has to feed our soul, that we have to feel aligned with it. Does that help?
It does. It does. I don't want to take away from anybody else's.
I can't hear you as well. Get a little closer to the.
Oh, I said it does make a lot of sense, and I don't want to take up other people's questions or time.
That's okay.
So I'll just add to it if there aren't other questions to ask. I was sharing that in my own life and time, I found that elusive. Honestly, there's times when a sense of purpose is there, and then there's other times where I'm floundering.
Yeah.
And I wondered if you had suggestions for how you find that place of purpose.
You're asking great questions that I think is helping everyone here. I think you find it when you feel like something, not about you, but something is amiss. Something isn't quite right. If you feel like you're being drawn to the same kinds of items in the news, for example. I personally have gone through various purposes in life. I spent a fair amount of time on working with an organization helping women and girls in developing countries, because I just couldn't stand it. It made me crazy. You know, I went through a period in the 90s of working very hard for gun control here in the United States. We all know how well that worked. And for a long time now, I've been a real activist and advocate for animal welfare and animal rights, because that's what is making me upset or concerned. And I think it's whatever speaks to you, and it doesn't have to be holier than thou. You know, your purpose could be to get a park in your community for families to hang out in. It doesn't have to be gigantic. You know, this isn't the Miss America pageant where, you know, they all want world peace. Well, of course we all want world peace. All right. But it just has to be anything that when you wake up in the morning, you know why you have the gifts you have. And also, not every day is fulfilling a purpose. You know, life is big and messy and complicated. But I'm talking about just having a purpose overall. It's like, this is why I'm here.
That's a lovely answer. Thank you very much. It's very, very nice.
By the way, I think
asked.
you two should connect. Christine and Phyllis, you both are in DC. You really should connect.
Oh, you're in DC?
Yes,
Oh my goodness. Okay. You know, everybody, if I would love to follow, if you want to follow up with me, there are several ways to do this. Put your name and email in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. And it's interesting for me to see where everyone is from. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can email me directly. And this is a really easy email address. It's phyllis@phyllislevinson.com. Okay. And if you want to be on my list to get my blog and other things, let me know.
Can you just put it in the chat, or can someone else put it in the chat? I can do it.
Phyllis@phyllislevinson.com. Yeah. And you can find me on LinkedIn. So yeah, please feel free. I'm easy. I used to say my early coaching days, I was cheap and easy. Now I just say I'm easy. Any other questions?
I have one as a mom, and I know you kind of touched on it in the beginning about the what and the who. My what, I did stay at home for a decade and gave up my career because my children are everything to me. But now, that's my who, but now my purpose is, yes, world peace, essentially. And I don't have time for them, right? They're running wild for the last, I don't know how many hours. My son has been gaming, God knows how many hours, because I'm on the same. And how do I stay true to that? Yes, they're important to me, but I'm not spending not any time except yelling at them when they're not doing what they're supposed to.
Okay, well, I don't think there's a parent on this call who has never yelled at their children. Okay. And, we don't need to be perfect. We don't need to be perfect. And so right now, yeah, you're not hanging out with your kids. I'm sure there are times when you do hang out with your kids. And it's okay that they're in front of a screen, because my guess is, well, with COVID, every kid's been in front of a screen all day, every day. But, I think we moms in particular need to just be kind to ourselves. I mean, there's this fairy tale myth of running through, fields of wildflowers with our children, with our hair blowing in the breeze. My hair does not blow in the breeze, but
well, that's not my point. When you said about the who and you look in the calendar, does that mean that they're not my who? I mean, that's what I was feeling guilty about.
Oh gosh, well, I think your kids are a given who.
Okay.
Okay, I think anyone who lives in your home. Now the only sort of caveat to that is if you have, for example, family Sunday nights or family Monopoly nights. I'm making that up. And for the past 5 Sunday nights, you haven't participated. That would be a who that you would need to sort of really question yourself about. I don't think that is what we're talking about. Or you haven't had a meal with your kids in 2 months. Yeah, I know the reason I can give those as examples, because I know they're not true and they're almost ludicrous. But so yeah, so let's do away with the guilt. Yeah.
Thank you. Margie was nodding her head. Does she have a question, or?
Do you have a question, Margie? You were nodding. Were you just agreeing?
I'm just agreeing.
Okay.
I'm happy. I'm agreeing with everything. I have to say, I think everyone on this call must have a strong trait, because we just got through a year of COVID and we're here talking about happiness. So we must be in a good state if we're here.
That's a really good point, Margie. Seriously, that's a really good point, because it's been a heck of a year for everyone, even for those of us I feel so privileged to have made it through with without getting sick, with having a job, with all of that. But it's been a tough year. Yeah. And Margie, I'm so happy you brought that up, because my tree of happiness, and talking about the roots and the leaves and the rolls, are a way to get through COVID. Again, it's not that there aren't difficulties in life, including COVID, which is a shared difficulty worldwide. But the happier you are, the more COVID makes you sway, your tree sways and bends, but you don't break. So I'm glad you brought that up, Margie. Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Are you all going to grow your trees? Are you all going to draw your trees? I'm going to check up on you. Oh, Margie's already drawn her tree. I love it.
The not creative one.
Doesn't have to be. And when you said not a creative one, I know you're joking, but the truth is, I want to say something about the creative route. We're not talking about being an artist. You don't have to be good at something. During COVID, I bought some beautiful watercolor paints and brushes, and I watched lots and lots and lots of videos of how to, and then I tried to watercolor. Let me tell you, I can't quit my day job. There is no natural talent for my being a watercolorist, but I have so much fun. I have fun. It's like I get to choose colors and which colors blend together well, and it's okay. I'm not trying to sell my art. Okay, I sit at my desk and it brings me pleasure, and it's a completely different way of thinking from the rest of my life. That's what I mean by creativity. Okay. So yeah, so much of this is to just go easy on ourselves. We're not going for perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. And getting back to the question about mothers, I always say the only perfect mother is Mother Nature. All right, anyone else? Thoughts, comments? Okay, well, thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you, Phyllis.
Oh, thank you, Margie. And seriously, connect with me. I would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. All right, I'm easy. Okay, thanks everyone.